Buenos días a todos. Bienvenidos a la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista, la cual incluye nuestras congregaciones en Birmingham y Tuscaloosa. Y nuestra gente en línea. Quienes quiera que sean, quienes quiera que amen, donde quiera que estén hoy, sin importar su origen cultural y étnico, y donde quiera que se encuentren en su camino espiritual, son bienvenidos. A todos que están aquí esta mañana, bienvenidos a casa.
Good morning. I get to be the translator for Helen this morning. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist Church, which serves our folks here in Birmingham, our folks in Tuscaloosa, and all of our folks online. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are today, whatever your cultural or ethnic background may be, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. To all who are here this morning, welcome home. I will offer a special note this morning that your connection card includes those updated questions from last week's service. So if you were not able to fill out those questions to give me an update about your life while I was on sabbatical, I would greatly appreciate you filling out those questions and turning it in during the offertory. The prelude prepares us for worship.
We make ourselves one body, something larger than we were before, with all that feels alive in me and all that feels alive in you. We are interconnected. We are one entity, having all these divergent, disparate, seemingly contentious experiences, but still part of one body. Here we are conspiring together. Here we are breathing together. Here we are moving together, moving for the sake of our whole bodies, because that's who we are. This, today, is a reunion. We are remembering. And now, in the spirit of inclusivity, please take 2 to 3 minutes to greet those around you. And folks, you're online, please greet each other in the chat. Don't listen to me.
Good morning. Now let's please rise in body and/or spirit and join everyone in singing number 148 in your hardback book. Let Freedom Span, both east and west, number 148. Let freedom span both east and west. friendship throughout the whole wide earth. In beauty, wonder everywhere, let us communion find. Compassion be the golden cord, close binding humankind. Beyond all barriers of race, of color, caste, or creed, let us make friendship human worth our common faith and deed. Then east and west will meet and share, and south shall build with north. One human commonwealth of good throughout the whole wide earth.
Buenos dias. Well, thank you everyone for creating this wonderful welcoming space. It's definitely extremely beautiful, but I felt it as I walked in here. My name is Celsa Allende Stallworth, and I am an immigrant. I'm an immigrant to Alabama. I consider myself a Mexican Alabamian. I grew up in rural Randolph County. I went to elementary school, high school, graduated from here. Worked outside of the state sometime, but I always come back. I feel that I too am Alabama, who I am, right? I'm here because, well, Reverend Julie invited, and basically I was thinking, well, what do I want to talk about, right? Do I want to focus on the negative? Because I could do that. We could talk about the fear, the fright, the disinformation, the division that is happening in the communities at this point, because it is. It happens every day. It's happening in our neighborhoods, right outside, next door. However, I want to share my story and why I do what I do. I'm an immigrant organizer in the state of Alabama, and I like to work, or my passion project is solidarity. Solidarity meaning that it's not your fight, my fight, it's our fight together, because we're trying to make a difference in working together. In order for us to be able to do that, we have to be able to communicate with one another, to sit down and discuss those difficult topics and conversations, because they do exist and they're there, and they can be those topics that we don't talk about are what festers and what divides us. So when we actually sit down and have those open conversations with one another, and sometimes we're not gonna leave the room really like agreeing, but you start to understand and you start the healing process, which is one thing that I have been sitting. Some of the things that I've learned, that I've had conversations with people in the movement, are difficult, right? Sometimes the Black community is saying, well, we don't support the immigrant community because the immigrant community doesn't support the Black community. That's really hard to sit with, but it's the truth. So how do we start to heal, right? So that's what I come here, and I ask of you all. When you are out buying groceries, just when you smile, when you acknowledge someone, that's huge. As an immigrant, as a person that doesn't feel they belong in a community at times, especially at times like these, when you go out in community and you're really feeling ostracized, you're really feeling that the people in community don't want you there, that smile makes a difference. That hi, how's your day makes a huge difference, right? I came in here and I could have just been ignored and not greeted, but I wasn't, I was greeted. I was asked if I knew where I was going. I was acknowledged several times. And that makes me want to come back.
Good job.
All right, good morning. I am Kylie Kerr, a member of the board. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time with us, and for some of you, I can see it is, please pass the plate. We are just really glad that you are here. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today, we are sharing our plate with the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, who works for the rights and dignity of all people by cultivating just policies, encouraging grassroots leadership, building alliances, and amplifying the voices and contributions of immigrants in Alabama. We appreciate your donations either by placing them in the plate, by mailing your donation to the church, or by using PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. More information is found in the order of service in the lower right corner. Thank you for your generous support of this church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
Sorry. Just making sure y'all are awake. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. Now is that time in our community when we share what we carry with us this day, whether joy or sorrow. For those of you online, please share yours in the chat and lift one another up as you do every week. For those of you in person today, you are now invited to come drop a stone in honor or in memory of what is on your heart today. Please come forward. Let me know if you find it. Good to see you. There aren't nearly enough stones. Today we have a couple birthdays to celebrate, and I will say if I'm not lifting up your birthday, it's because I don't know. So if you want your birthday celebrated, let me know. But we celebrate, and I won't say the number, but Evelyn Doffin's birthday was this past week. And today is Anita Gass's birthday. Where did she go? I don't know where you went, Anita, but we love you. Today we lift up much, our country and our world. We lift up, especially this morning, Giovanna Hernandez Martinez, who is one of our community organizers and friends who was deported after a traffic stop a few weeks ago. It's a really tragic situation, and her family might be here this morning. Can you raise your hand if you're here? Okay. We invited them to come this morning, but it's a tragic situation, so I understand if they could not be here. But we do lift up Giovanna and all of our immigrant neighbors who are being rounded up and treated unjustly. And we continue to do that as we go forth in this week. May we keep one another in our hearts and minds in the spirit of community and love. Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation, followed by a moment of silence. Today's meditation was written by the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this, the rest false. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. But life tells its truth in many hues. We are taught to think in either or, to believe the teachings of Jesus or Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond a single will. I am broken or I am powerful. Life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both and of and. We are taught to see in absolutes, good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight. Let us see the fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities. The day is coming when all will know that the rainbow world is more gorgeous than monochrome, that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course, and that the margins hold the center. Let us take a moment of silence together. Amen and blessed be. Will the children please come forward?
Thank you. I'm not used to it being off. What's going on? Good morning, friends. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Courtney McKinney, and I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at UUCB, and I'm super excited to be here this morning. I introduced myself because there are so many new people today. So excited to see you all here with us. So glad you're here. So I brought something to share with you guys today. Cool? Yeah. So, Rosie, could I borrow Miss Amethyst for a minute? Sorry, I need to borrow her. So, I'll let you get that part right there. So I brought some quilts with me. You love quilts? You love some quilts? I love quilts too. Look at, your mom makes quilts. Look at, does this one look like anything you recognize? It's the church trellis. Very cool. Tons of quilts, tons of quilts. So what do you use quilts for? Do you know what you use quilts for? Keep you warm. Or keeping the floor warm. This one I just hang on my wall. It just hangs on my wall. But yes, you can use them for all sorts of things. So some parts of them are lighter and some parts are darker, and it's made up of all different kinds of patterns, and it's strong and it keeps you warm. You know, community is a little bit like a quilt. What do you think? Yeah? Yeah? Sure, we'll go with that. Sounds great. So like our community, including this one right here, we come from a whole lot of different places, right? We all look totally different. We all have different color skin. We all have different color clothes. We have different color voice, or different sounding voices. And we are different, right? And that's kind of cool. We come from different families and experiences, but every single person in here makes up this beautiful quilt of our congregation, like these quilts right here. All the pieces, all those different fabrics matter and make up the picture. Am I holding that upside down? No, okay. I thought it was upside down for a minute. I was like, well, now the flame is burning upside down. That's okay. Well, I mean, the top of the flame points up because it goes pointy fire thing. Pointy fire thing. So, but all these pieces are important, right? All these people in our community are important, like the quilts. Did you know, does anyone know what September is? What do you think, Lilith? Your brother's birthday? What about Stark? What is this month? It's National Suicide Prevention Month, not the direction I was going, but you are correct. Ezio, you have the ringer. Thank you, Ezio. It's Hispanic Heritage Month. Stark, I was really dependent on you on that one. Yeah, so it's a time that we celebrate all those Hispanic and Latino cultures. Do any of you know anyone that is Hispanic or Latino? Yeah, who do you know, Wally? You're from Violet from school. What about you, Ren? Oh, cool. Your teachers are Hispanic. What about you, Ezio? You know yourself? Another ringer. Thank you, Ezio. What about you, Lily? Your grandfather? So does that mean that you are too, a little bit? Yeah, there you go. Very cool. So we all know someone, right? And they're a part of our quilt. Isn't that cool? So just like each square in these quilts, Hispanic and Latino cultures are important because they bring those beautiful colors and patterns to our communities. It's a bigger part of the bigger picture. So as well as being kind and focusing on things like equity, that means we need to make sure that everyone's pieces fit, right? We need to make sure that everyone has a place in our community because they're an important part of our community. That means listening and learning and celebrating, not just 1 month a year, but all year long. We should lift up these things. So when you see a quilt, whether it's one that your mom made or your grandma made or your dad made or my mom made, I hope you'll remember that the world is made stronger and more beautiful by every piece that's included in it. All the different cultures, all the different communities. And our job is to help sure that no one square gets left out or pushed aside. And we can do this by learning about each other's cultures. We can do this by speaking up when something isn't fair. And we can do this by honoring the people who help shape our world, including our Hispanic neighbors. So one last thing. Also remember, we are Unitarian Universalists, right? With minds that think, hearts that love, and hands that are ready to serve. Perfect. All right, my friends, are you ready to go outside for some community time? Fantastic. Grown-ups, could you sing us downstairs?
Last week, for our water communion, we used a ritual which listed many of the spiritual identities folks in our church use to describe themselves. And several of you pointed out to me after the service that there was a large group not listed. And so the word atheist was not listed, although humanist was included, but that's a whole nother sermon about those two words together. There's a lot of nuance between those two identities. So to make up for that mistake, let's just take a moment and raise your hand or shout if that is part of your identity that you would like acknowledged. Okay. I was expecting more cheers, but okay. I'm so glad you all have now gotten to raise your hand for that part of your identity. And for those of you who weren't here last week, we also did roll call for all of the other identities that are among us: Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, pagan, humanist, Taoist, to illustrate that we are a place for all spiritual identities due to our non-creedal nature. Our congregation was built and exists to bring together folks who believe differently about the big existential questions without deciding that one group is better than all the others. Today, we're going to shift our perspective to a broader cultural understanding, recognizing how, beyond our spiritual identities, we still come to this place with different identities, even though many of us outwardly look the same. Culture is that integrated pattern of human behavior, which includes thought, communication, actions, customs, beliefs, values, and institutions of a racial, ethnic, religious, or social group. As part of my continued education and attempts to complete my master's certificate in nonprofit management, I'm currently taking a course called Equity in Public Policy. That is, how does cultural competency fit within an organization? And how does cultural competency affect the creation and execution of our policies, our personnel decisions, and the treatment of all stakeholders in our congregations? Cultural competency goes beyond race, ethnicity, and gender to acknowledge that we are each made of many factors that determine how we see the world, how the world sees us, where our values lie, and how we treat others. Other cultural factors beyond race, ethnicity, and gender include our age, our abilities, our religion, our education level, our income and class, and our sexuality. Whether we like it or not, how we recognize, learn, and develop our cross-cultural interactions inside our congregation reflects in our church culture and how we interact with the wider community. In any one of those identities, we can consider a plethora of questions to make us reflect about ourselves. But just to get started today, I want you to think about these questions. How does your race and ethnicity define your understanding of the world? How does your gender influence how other people treat you? How does your age shape the way that you consume media? How do your abilities and disabilities shape your resilience to outside forces? How does your education level create assumptions about you in other people? how does your income affect how you spend disposable income, if you have disposable income at all? How does your sexuality provoke your family's behavior to you? How does your religion or spiritual understanding affect how you believe the country should be governed? Those are some big questions. I think I could do a sermon for each one of those. But I just want you to start thinking about your own identities. So I've listed all those different things. All of you are somewhere on the spectrum for every one of those things, right? Now I want you to think about which of those identities is your primary identification. If someone asked you to take the answers to all those questions of what your identities are and prioritize them, which one would be listed first? That is, if you were going to identify yourself listing out all those things, what would you list first? My spouse lists his ethnicity and profession first. I think I just lost the mic. Let's try another one. Or turn me on the pulpit, either one. Yeah. Please don't fall. Thank you. We're there. Y'all are still paying attention? My spouse lists his ethnicity and profession first, and you would be amazed by how many folks are confused by those two things together. He is a Mexican English teacher. There's a lot of confusion, but that is his primary identity. My younger son, and those of you who know him will understand this, he starts by telling folks he's going to run for president one day. Yeah. We got to make that happen. But we were on the beach this summer, and he's introducing himself to strange kids by saying, "I'm going to be a politician." And the other kids are like, "What is that?" And also, don't tell King Herod. If you could just keep that under wraps. Okay. My older son would start with his hobbies. He'd tell you he's a gamer first, which is, in a way, another yet identifier. I always start with my faith tradition, but that is my job as a professional Unitarian Universalist to put that one first. And I also usually throw in there that I'm a boy mom, because while gender is complicated, in speaking with my friends, there is just something different about raising boys than there is about raising girls that I'm sure is different than raising non-binary and transgender children, but my boys are both firmly boys at the moment and live it that way. I also usually list my psychological typologies, my Enneagram, my Myers-Briggs, and that's mainly just because I want other people to share theirs with me. So that is your hint there. But what identities we use when we identify ourselves is heard profoundly by those who are listening to us. We also remember that in the heart of each of our identities, compassion blooms at the heart of understanding. 18% of the population is disabled in some way. We're talking about millions and millions of Americans, not all of which are visible to the naked eye. And 12% are severely disabled. 8.8 million folks, according to the census, are LGBTQ, but that number is likely much higher because the census only reveals people of the same gender living in the same household without other, it's a guess. And we know that number is much, much higher. Every year, our minority statistics grow exponentially in this country. whether you are looking at race or gender or sexuality or any of these different identifiers. Our country is so diverse in many, many ways by any measurement. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe very different things. We don't agree on spiritual understandings, what happens to life after death. We don't agree whether there is a divine presence or presences. We don't agree which prophets are the best teachers, but we do agree on some things. Our process as Unitarian Universalists to decide which things we agree on are decided by a vote, because we are a people who believe in democracy. And every couple of decades at our national meeting, we vote to make sure our values are up to date with how the world needs us to prioritize our values. And if you're new to our community, these values aren't even something that you as an individual have to agree with, because we are a non-creedal church. They are the values that we as congregations agree to. They are our collective values statements. We print them every week on the back of the order of service. And even the longtime folks who've been here forever are still getting used to our new values because we just voted on them last summer. I have to think really hard to remember what all 7 of them are, and I certainly don't have the explanations memorized yet. But one of those value statements is especially relevant to this morning: pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. It is a value statement of this church for us to aim at advanced cultural competence. And because of the variety of the identities present here and the updates, changes, and better understandings we have in society as a whole, it's hard to be fully up to date on everything. We aim for cultural awareness, for the conscious understanding and acceptance of the beliefs, values, customs, and experiences of people from different cultures, recognizing how our own cultural experiences influence our perspective. Cultural knowledge, that deep level knowledge and lifelong learning about different cultures, and cultural skills, the ability to gain the trust, support, and openly discuss cultural issues with folks of different cultures. Those are all things that we work on as part of pluralism. Now, I know what you're thinking. How am I going to speak about Hispanic Heritage Month as a white person? I will say that in other years, I have asked Latinx folks to deliver this sermon. But this year, since I've only just returned from sabbatical, I thought there might be a riot if I wasn't up here this week. You know how we liberals are about our riots. But our Hispanic church members and friends and our wider Hispanic community, although most of them go to other churches, their history matters. We all need to work on our cultural understanding. And sometimes we need to hear from those affected, like Celsa. And sometimes we need to be called back in by someone who looks like us. And I hope today's service has provided that good balance as a whole. This weekend, my family and I attended Fiesta, one of the large-scale Hispanic festivals in our area every year. Did anybody else go to Fiesta yesterday? It was great fun. And while the event is attended primarily by the 10,000 Hispanic folks in the greater Birmingham area, it is also wonderful to see all of the non-Hispanic folks in attendance as well. It is truly a practical lesson in cultural competency to be immersed, even for an afternoon, in a place that celebrates your own or another's culture, and to see the spectrum of diversity within a subgroup of people. It was fun to witness how other white folks interacted in the space. Comments like whether the luchadors were a staged performance. Of course they are. Do you want people to get really hurt? And they are hilarious and awesome. To the amazement at the amazing diversity of food in one spot. To the awe around the indigenous dancing from different cultures. To see, albeit complicated, the corporate support for the event, and the health services and booths with all their materials in Spanish. My favorite part is the cultural village, where immigrants from each country teach about their customs, their food, their culture, their language, and so much more. Because to talk about Hispanic culture is as diverse and maybe as more so than European culture. Hispanic and Latino culture spans 2 continents, contains tropical all the way to polar climates and everything in between, and 20 to 30 different political nations or territories and all of the subgroups who live within them. Hispanic refers to those countries who speak Spanish, and Latine refers to those cultures from Latin America, 2 distinct terms that are often used interchangeably. But I think I have a good clarifying point. If your list includes Spain, you're talking about Hispanic, people who speak Spanish. If your list includes Brazil, who speaks Portuguese, then your list is Latine. Does that help? Easy clarification. So UCLA put out a report from their Latin Policy Initiative, and they revealed some fascinating data over the last 2 decades of patterns relevant to our lives in Alabama. In 2023, and this number may have shifted due to recent events, Alabama had the 5th largest growth of Latine population in the country. A growth of over 202%. So when I say this conversation is relevant to all of us, it is relevant to all of us. Guatemalan is the fastest growing specific Latine group within Alabama at 740%. And Latine immigrants to the United States have a much younger median age than Caucasian folks, and a lot of that is seen in our schools and how our schools function. A surprising statistic to me was to see that 68% of Latinos in the United States were born here. 68%. And despite what the angry talking heads would want us to believe, those numbers have only increased 8% from 2000 to 2020. Our cultural landscape is and has been shifting, slowly and steadily, as a multitude of factors, including mass migration, climate change, as climate change heats up countries along the equator, and people flee political tyranny, which is why some folks are now going back south. And let's not forget that a large portion of that 68% are indigenous to the United States, because 2 of our largest states and all of the states in between, California and Texas, were Mexican until 1848. Everyone living in those states in 1848 was a Mexican citizen. But they were given the choice to become U.S. citizens. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo specified that Mexican land grants would be protected. But as I'm sure you all are not surprised, once the treaty was signed, Mexican land was immediately seized and Mexicans lost their ancestral homelands intentionally. Intentionally, the U.S. Senate voted to remove that protection of land at the last minute. Colonizers gotta colonize. So it is not ironic, but not new, so it is ironic, but not new, that in 2025, we as a nation would be kicking out a group of people whose ancestors have lived here longer than most of ours. Also ironic that most of us live here because our ancestors were immigrants themselves or forced to travel here. Mexican Americans have as much a right to be here as any of us. And to the plethora of folks from other Latinx countries, our country was founded on recognizing that all immigrants, and not just the nice, wealthy ones, but all immigrants, the tired, the poor, as our Statue of Liberty says, are welcome here for whatever reason they come, but especially for those masses who are yearning to breathe free. The homeless, the tempest-tossed. We lift our lamps beside the golden door. We are the welcome wagon for those who need another chance, for those who need freedom, for those who have nothing. There is no expectation that you come to this country with anything other than who you are. And we do not expect you to change either. Because, unless I miss something, we still don't have a national language. We still don't have a national religion. We welcome everyone. But, as you all know, that is not who we are today. We no longer represent the Statue of Liberty. Our national monument is now the border wall, with its misnamed sections like Friendship Park, telling our neighbors they are not welcome because our government enforces exclusion. This was felt at Fiesta yesterday as much as the sights and the smells and the sounds tried to overpower that feeling of exclusion. Cultural Village booths were empty of their experts. The crowd was considerably thinner. And we heard from a friend that the CDC and other federal agencies have been told to remove their Spanish interpretation and materials from their websites and agencies. Our Hispanic neighbors were here first, or at the very least, equally as long as any of us. I truly hope that our Hispanic neighbors felt yesterday the inclusion and love of all of those gathered at Fiesta, because we really did have a fabulous time, and I was truly amazed at the diversity of attendees. Last night, as we were trying to recover from Fiesta, as one does, my boys and I watched Encanto, a stunning film infused with Colombian culture. And I know a lot of you are going to think, I'm not going to watch a cartoon, but it is a beautiful cartoon. You are missing it. It is a gorgeous, magical realism film about a family whose individual family members each showcase a magical power that was created in that moment of migration. Every one of the members has a magical power except for one. And eventually, through the story arc, the family learns that it's not their magic that makes them special, but who they are. As the closing song says, you are more than just your gift. The miracle is you, all of you. We can appreciate the influence Latine folks have had on our food quality, especially our flavor quality, on our food availability, and on the jobs that many of them are willing to do that pay so abysmally little. But when we learn about other cultures and when we fully appreciate them, we should caution ourselves from appreciating them only for their contributions, and instead honor and value our Hispanic neighbors as individuals, as neighbors, as friends, as people who have a right to be here and deserve the same protections that our Constitution demands: due process, to live free of discrimination, to be able to work and play and attend school and exist without the fear of this government robbing them of their home. Perhaps we are all wanting for that door to be open, the light to be on, the hearth to be warm. That's what everyone looks for in a community. And even if we cannot interact with every person in a certain community, as Celsa said this morning, we can choose how we welcome individuals every bit when we are out in the world, at the grocery store, at the restaurants, wherever we are, especially to those whose cultures are different than ours. We can show love, acceptance, and welcome, and that there is enough for all, if only we would all learn to share. As we continually improve our cultural competency through awareness and knowledge and skill, let us remember that Hispanic and Latine culture is not a monolith, but a mosaic, full of bright colors and vibrancy and community building. Let us educate ourselves about Hispanic heritage this month and always. And let us practice our skills in ensuring our spaces are inclusive for all. After all, it is our country, but it is not just ours. Amen.
Now, please rise in body and/or spirit to join in our closing hymn. In the soft-backed teal book, we are doing 1047, Nada de Turba, and this is going to be 3 times through, with the first and third time being in Spanish and the second time being in English. Number 1047.
Nada te turbe, nada te espante, que a Dios tiene, nada les falta. Nada te turbe, nada te espante, solo a Dios basta. Nothing can trouble, nothing can frighten those that seek God shall never go wanting. Nothing can trouble, nothing can frighten. God alone fills us. Nada te turbe, nada te espante, ya no Dios tiene, nada le falta, nada nada describe, nada despante, solo Dios basta.
All right, everyone. Visitors, members, and friends, please fill out your connection card. If you haven't done so yet, you can do that and drop it with our ushers on the way out. Our staff and minister read these every week. Thank you to everyone who set up or helped to host our Living Legacy dinner this week. UUs and other pilgrims from all over the country were really impressed with our hospitality and how we welcomed them. So thank you for representing so well. We have a trivia fundraiser coming up on October 10th. Please invite your friends and register for this event. I think it's being promoted on Facebook and you can register there. You've got one? Come on. You're supposed to talk to me first.
I talked to Reverend Julie. An individual ticket is going to be $15, and you can reserve a table for 6 for $100. There is a QR code in your order of service that will be updated tomorrow with a sign-up sheet and more information. If you would like to help with supplies or volunteering, there is a sign-up sheet out in the narthex, or you can see me after. Thank you.
She's my sister, so I can be mean to her. Okay. No, you're good. Okay. Elizabeth Cuniff, she has her artwork in our sanctuary here. I think it's coming down next week. So if you have been eyeing one of Elizabeth's pieces, there's a binder in the back of the sanctuary where you can look at the prices and make a bid if you wish. Tomorrow, the Poor People's Campaign is having an event at 10 a.m. in Montgomery. This is for protests related to cuts in healthcare and SNAP benefits. You can find details about that protest online, or you can also talk to Terry Wright, who is going to attend that event. And then after church today, our Board and Environmental Justice Task Force will be meeting here in the sanctuary to clarify some miscommunications and some questions about our upcoming solar panel project. So if you are a member, we hope that you will stick around after church to get all your questions about this project answered ahead of the congregational vote, which will happen next week. Volker Room instead of the sanctuary, Volker Room. And then the congregational meeting will be in here next week. Okay. All right. And now we'll extinguish our chalice. We have a calling in this world. We are called to honor diversity, to respect differences with dignity, and to challenge those who would forbid it. We are people of a wide path. Let us be wide in our affection and go our way in peace. Amen.